Shout out to the homie Nas.
Yo, sky's the limit. I pitch a Q45 Infinite. Why a Q45 though, yo?
What's going on, War Room World? We are back at you. Welcome to another edition of Inside the War Room. I'm one of your hosts, Devin McMillan, and I'm here with the partners, Jimmy Williams.
You better slow down, baby. I'm a hero in my hometown, baby.
And B. Austin.
My part of town. Yo.
So damn.
So damn.
All right, so we're back at you.
Nobody will catch that reference, y'all. Y'all know that, right?
Unless they're old school Philly, but we're back at you with another NBA 2013 Finals edition. We told you guys during our preview that we were going to get at you after every game to give you recap and a short preview of the next game. So game 2 is in the books. Miami basically, I don't want to say anything rude for the cameras, fella, but they did the thing to the San Antonio Spurs, getting a 103 to 84 victory. Now, you know, we kind of said it last time that we really saw it as a daunting task for San Antonio to get out of Miami with the 2-0 lead. And, you know, once the third quarter started, that task got really, really, really daunting. And Miami Heat just took over the game and made it a series again.
Bludgeoned them.
What do you guys see as the reason for everything going down the way it did?
Turnovers.
I was going to start with that. The turnovers. Now, no one expected them to have the few turnovers they had in Game 1, but they had outpaced themselves in the first quarter. They had more than 4 turnovers just in the first quarter of this game. But yet and still, they were still in the game because of their three-point shooting. Crazy part is, when you look back at the game, because I rewatched it because I'll be drawing. But anyway, with 3 minutes left in the third quarter, they were up by 1 point. So, you know, it wasn't the entire third that he took over, but it was at that point with about 3 minutes left, they went on a run. And then the fourth quarter kind of got ugly. But at the end of the day, their turnovers, they played very sloppy on offense. Like, in the first half, they were sloppy on offense, but the defense was on point. But, you know,
second
I
half,
thought maybe,
it was on both sides.
Yeah, it was just sloppy all over the place in the second half. But at the end of the day, they did what they came to do. They split in Miami. So, you know
what?
They did what they came to do. But at the end of the day, they could have, if they would have kept playing this, you know what I mean? It's just turned it up a little bit in the third quarter. They could have actually went up 2-0, but like I said, with 3 minutes left in the third quarter, they were up by 1, and it kind of got ugly after that.
Yeah, this was a big missed opportunity for the Spurs because, like you said, you know, any road team will leave with a split and be satisfied, but at the same time, you're leaving with that 1-1 split, and you're thinking to yourself, man, we could have put a stranglehold on this series with this 2-3-2 format. Like you said earlier, Jimmy, you know, I don't think the Spurs really played that well from the opening tap, and what kept them in the game for a while was the three-point shooting of one Mr. Danny Green, who finished the game 6 for 6 from the field, 5 for 5 from three-point land, and 17 points. You know, all
shout
together.
out to Thuzio.
And, you know, that's one of those things where you hate to see something like that, especially if you're a San Antonio Spurs fan. Like, you don't want one of your role players to have the game of his life, but then that game gets wasted, you know?
Yeah.
And I think, like you guys said, the turnovers, which, you know, in Game 1, like, who would have thought the Spurs would have come out and been that sloppy with the ball, Tony Parker included, Tony Parker mostly. Manu Ginobili with the dribble moves.
Manu was out of control.
I don't know what Manu
Yo,
was
who does the Pooh Allen in the NBA Finals? And if you don't know who Pooh Allen is or what that is, check your history.
Yo, by the way, if you from NY, you probably
from New York,
the guy Chan guy. Yeah,
no,
you know what I mean?
No, Pooh did it first.
Yeah,
I'm not arguing that fact. I'm always
and be honest, nor are they going to consent to that fact, so it's no use. So, but yeah, Manu was out of control. Tony Parker was sloppy with the ball as far as his passing was concerned. Miami, they didn't even get a monster game statistically from LeBron James. He seemed like he was waiting it out again to try to get his teammates involved. And then during that run that Jimmy spoke about earlier, you know, he just started to do a little bit of everything. He got a few buckets. You know what I'm saying? He drew the defense, got some assists. He got the block shot that, you know, everybody's acting like it's the greatest block ever in the existence of block shots. It was a great block. Great
real
block.
Real quick, yo.
Hey,
when that block happened, yo, somebody actually texted me and said that's the greatest block in NBA history. Serious word. And the funny thing is, though, I remember Nate Robinson blocking LeBron's shot, and nobody said a word, but LeBron blocks like a weirdo center shot. Never mind, I'm chill. But
Nate Robinson is the same height as the length of my beard hair. Come on, man.
B. Austin, so what did you see in Game 2? Why did the Heat run away with this one?
Let's talk the differences. First, you have to start with the differences in team. Mm-hmm. So the Miami Heat, as I've said in the past, and we continue to say, athletically, they are the superior team. They are definitely athletic freaks. They're monsters. So whenever you turn the ball over and give them a chance to get into the open court and run, that's when they're at their strength. That's when things work for them. Now, the other thing that I saw is role players stepping up. Ray Allen's chip chasing ass, he was hitting. My man Miller, who I've always said Mike Miller is underrated, probably because he suffers from the Larry Bird, Chris Mullin syndrome, which is he is constantly and forever injured at all points on his body. But when I know when Mike Miller, I know from the way he catches the ball when the shot is going in. And I knew the catches like he was wide open. Mike Miller can still knock down threes from 24 feet consistently if he's getting open looks. So the role players stood out to me. They played for Miami, and the turnovers and the discipline of the Spurs. They kind of got hot. Danny Green got hot. Kawhi Leonard was hot, was hitting. And so when you have you're playing undisciplined basketball, but you're meeting with success in terms of the long ball going in, you're going to stick around, but eventually that is going to dry up. It's fool's gold. And what we're used to with the Spurs is disciplined basketball. And that's one of the reasons why I believe they can win this series. I don't think they will. I still am sticking with the Heat in 7, but they're not afraid of the Heat. They're not scared at all. And they play disciplined basketball that limits the turnovers, thereby limiting the fast break opportunities that the Heat thrive off of. So if they can calm the
crazy part
down, they can win. They can win.
I was about to say, crazy part is they didn't even, like you said, dry up. They just stopped Boyd getting these shots really in the second half. He was 6 for 6.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But
so
you don't run
30 minutes.
You don't run plays for Danny Green.
Yeah, he just stopped shooting because they weren't really getting him the ball in the spots that they were getting it to him in the first half.
Look, he looked up and saw he was 6 for 6, and he said, "I'm cool.
Yeah, I want to keep that percentage."
What's up with y'all man Manu though? Why Manu's so wild out there though? What's wrong with that dude, y'all?
Yo, he seems off the dribble. He seems a little discombobulated, and then to put on top of that, see, one thing you got to understand about Manu does not fear the African American NBA player. He's not intimidated. He's gonna bust he thinks in his mind he's gonna bust your tail, and he's doing too much.
But I think Manu, you can tell when he does his moves that his moves were contrived. Like he thought about it before he dribbled. This is what I'm going to hit him with.
Oh, you have to think about the Pooh Allen.
Reactive moves are probably go over smoother because you're reacting to what the defense does. Manu looks like he goes out there and say, okay, this guy steps to me, I'm going to hit him with this. Everything looked like it's contrived. So I think he just needs to calm down, get back to himself. Maybe he hears the whispers, all the fans saying that Manu's going to the Hall of Fame. He's starting to read his own clippings or whatever. But one interesting fact that I noticed in the game that may not bode well for San Antonio is because of the blowout, because of the pummeling, because of the ramrodding by the Miami Heat, their bench got to play significant minutes in the fourth quarter. And cats like Shane Battier, who usually isn't on the bench but was on the bench because he was struggling, he got a chance to get into a rhythm. Yeah. So if you have Mike Miller hitting, and now Shane Battier may, get back into a rhythm because he got into the flow a little bit, got his sweat on a little bit, it's not going to go well for San Antonio. Now, people always talk about the age of the San Antonio Spurs. It's kind of a misconception. Not that they're not old, but actually as a team, Miami's average age is older than San Antonio.
Because of Juwan Howard.
Now, of course, there's context to that because the core players of Miami aren't a part of that old mix. But as a team, they average about 28.8 years years, per player, and the Spurs are down somewhere like 28 even. I was about to say Tracy McGrady may have added to that, but he just replaced somebody else that was old already. But I'm saying all that to say, when they lose games like that, those whispers start to happen, talking about how old the Spurs were, and we told you Miami's going to run those old guys off the court, this and that. Tony Parker's not old. 30 years old, that's not old. Just like Dwayne Wade's not old, but he may be an older 30 than Tony Parker.
Dwayne Wade got a 62-year-old body, though.
Because of his body and all the injuries that we speak of all the time. But I think because of those bench players, some of those old guys getting in and getting a chance to get into a rhythm, I just think that may not fare well for San Antonio.
That's a valid point, Dev. But here's what I would say in terms of Shane Battier. At this stage of his career, Shane slides a lot to the 4 as opposed to playing the 3, and some points in his career he actually could play the 2 defensively. Because
which makes him a stretch 4 though if he's supposed to hit that 3-pointer.
Stretch 4, but Tiago Splitter will body Shane Battier on the block. So you're sacrificing something, and it has to be all clicking in order for that to work.
But you acting like he's
just different lineups
in a main rotation.
Yeah, different lineups, different matchups. At the same time, if they're going to play some of those big guys on Shane Battier, he's taking them away from their rebounding positions because they're out there, contesting 3-point shots or whatnot.
And one of the main reasons he hasn't been getting the same amount of burn is because of matchups. So they kind of recognize that already. I mean, going back to last series, kind of took him out of the rotation because of matchups, and this is what happens in the playoffs.
Right. Now,
I'm trying to see my man Scoop and Scrap get some more minutes, man.
But listen, though, my thing is this, though. At the end of the day, most of us thought Miami would win that game anyway. The Spurs did what they had to do. But going back to San Antonio, because my segue game is major, Game 3 can be vital, though, because statistically speaking, in 7-game series, those that win Game 3s, when it's 1-1, usually go ahead and win the whole thing.
Yeah.
Now,
Game 3s and Game 5s are always pivotal. What do you guys look at going into, since the series is moving to San Antonio for 3, San Antonio basically still has a distinct home court advantage right now because if they were lucky enough to just hold serve at home, they could end the series at the end of this. I doubt very seriously that's going to happen.
I'll just give you my prediction real quick. First thing I want to say is that the 2-3-2 format is played out. Y'all got to cut that out. I mean, I understand going 2-3-2 in years past, in the NBA, travel was different. But as of right now, like 2-3-2 to me, kind of a disadvantage to the team that has home court advantage.
Right.
But that's
because they can't afford to lose one at home.
They're in like must wins in the first 2 games of the series. But anyway, that's a side note. In Game 3, I'm looking to see if the Spurs can, I hate to be Captain Obvious, but cut down on the turnovers. Manu's got to get control. And I just want to see how they start the game off because I think that will be telling in terms of – now, sometimes with the Spurs, that's hard to say because they're very resilient. And a lot of times they don't start off that well, but they're able to hang in games and win at the end. Yeah, but I would like to see them start off a lot faster so they don't have to worry about, crawling or keep fighting to stay in the game.
Miami's not a team you want to get behind.
And that's exactly my point. So let's just see how the Spurs start off. And if they can control the turnovers, I think, it's a good chance they can win the game. Do I think they will win? I don't know. I mean, probably not. I'm actually taking the Heat to win Game 3 and Spurs maybe win Game 4. Like, I think this will be a nice, long series, and that's what I'm looking forward to. But the beginning of that game will be very telling, and the turnovers have to be cut down.
I'd say Miami is the best front-running team in the entire league. You know what I'm saying? They get a good lead on you. They get the dancing and smiling on the sidelines and everything.
They got the front-running fans, too. I'm sorry.
Exactly. So they got the fans that are front-runners, and, they play very well with a lead. So, what Jimmy said is very important. It may seem obvious, but it's very important that the San Antonio Spurs don't get themselves into an early hole. It's important that they don't get themselves into a hole the whole game. They have to maybe go nip and tuck with the Heat throughout the whole game, kind of like in Game 1, because if you get down too much, they're going to run away from you in the fourth quarter. As far as a prediction goes, this is probably the most difficult of the first 3 trying to predict because I see the Spurs actually winning 2 of the 3 at home. and Miami having to go back and just win 2 later on. But I also don't see the Spurs winning 2 games in a row. So I think I'm gonna have to go ahead and think they're gonna bounce back and actually win Game 3 in San Antonio. Close game as usual. I don't think they're gonna, the Heat when they take an L, they come back and beat the trash out of you. I don't see the Spurs doing the same thing, but I see them maybe scratching out a close victory. So I'll take the Spurs in Game 3.
As I often say, going behind these 2 esteemed gentlemen and my brother colleagues, all the bars get taken up. Dev, great points. That's kind of where I was going to go with it. Somewhere right now, Greg Popovich has Tony Parker and Tim Duncan tied to a wagon wheel and is punishing them for their missteps. And he's definitely beating up on Manu and probably pulling his nose hairs out. So I don't expect to see
placing him on the top of his head.
Yeah, putting him in that window up there. I don't expect to see the same mistakes being made. That's not characteristic of a San Antonio Spurs team. That's not characteristic of a Popovich coached team. So I'm going to go ahead and give them the benefit of Game 3 being a victory on their part. That's my prediction. As you said, I don't see them winning 2 games straight, and that may be the crucial point in all of this in terms of them winning the series. I don't think they can beat Miami back-to-back. I just think they can beat Miami. So they'll beat, Miami will beat, they'll win. Then you're going back to Miami, and that's where it really comes down to the Heat, I believe, winning a Game 7. The Spurs are going to get 2 games. The Spurs are going to get 2 games.
Yeah, I'm going to keep it a bean with everybody out there. I'm not really too confident with that pick. but I will stick with it. Because Miami does that to people in the playoffs. They may lay an egg, and laying an egg for them is a close win because you expect Miami to just be better than everyone. But then after they lose, and then they come out and just show people that if we want to, we can bludgeon you. It's kind of difficult to pick against them. I'm gonna stick with the Spurs pick, but I really don't have much confidence in that.
Yeah.
So you can say I'm hanging on the fence right now, but.
You 2 brothers got the Spurs in Game 3. I got the Heat. And, we'll see what happens. Like I said, I'm just looking for a long series. So, this can go either way, man. This is a very, very competitive series until the 4th quarter of last game. And I want to continue to see that. I just wish the Spurs would have played a little bit better basketball because it kind of got real sloppy and real nasty. But Game 1 was an excellent game because of what's that?
My bad. I was going to say we saw something amazing for the first time. Tracy McGrady's eyeballs were in the finals.
Yeah.
For the first time.
I'm sure it's not the way he wanted to be in the finals, but hey, if they win, he'll take it. I also want to give a shout out to Kawhi Leonard because he played some pretty good defense on LeBron James, most significantly in the post. We saw what LeBron did in the post against Paul George last series, but it seems like Kawhi is a bit more skilled of a defender. Yeah, he's not really going for the move. I mean, because LeBron James' post game is not really that refined yet. But if you get a defender who's just going to be like a deer in the headlights, then he'll abuse you all day.
Most of the time, LeBron's size.
I just want to give Kawhi a shout out.
Most of the time, his size and weight just getting to the rim, and Kawhi's not having it. Kawhi's playing great defense. I'm a little disappointed in LeBron in the post. If you can nitpick his game, I know that the viewers are going to say I'm nitpicking. That's the one area that I've always had an issue with. I think, it has to be. With the size that LeBron has and the skill and athleticism, you got to get the footwork, man. Get your feet right.
Yeah, but, footwork is not a natural thing. And LeBron kind of has duck feet, so you can't really expect him to go out there and be Olajuwon just because he practiced with him a couple times.
Yeah, a couple times. It needs to be more than a couple.
But the good thing about it is he's working on it. And,
Shout out to Kawhi.
And his deficiencies in the post don't show up much because he does everything else so well. There's only certain times in his career where we could say, had he had a better post game, this would have, maybe the Dallas series. But yeah, we're going to sign off on that. Like we said, keep tuning in because we will be back at you after every NBA Finals game. Hopefully that means, including our preview, we'll be at you, 8 times? Not sure what's going to do that, but, that's what we're hoping for. So we'll see what happens in Game 3. brothers, until next time, like we always tell these people. Well, before we even sign off, just make sure you subscribe to our page, WarRoomSportsTV.com. Make sure you leave a comment on the video. Make sure you like the videos, and we'll comment back and get the little dialogue started with you. But until next time, don't accept mediocrity and be steadfast in the war against ignorance.
See you chumps on top.
Wait, it's the war room with 5 nights at the round table. 5 Philly guys, the first